Okay, now that we've entered our schedule, our dependencies, and we've balanced resources, entered our resources, now we can generate what's called the cost baseline. We have basically what we need for the project. Let's look at this next. So this uses information from our resource schedule and our WBS. Costs are now time phased because we time phased the schedule, we time phased the resources that we could put in there, probably extended the project a little bit, but we know when they're supposed to occur, and we can get our cost baseline, or we'll see in Chapter 13, that's also called the planned value. So what is the planned value of the project? So we had our WBS, our OBS, we can get our total labor costs, we can get it by organization, we can get it by product and summarized. So we have all that detail in there. So let's look at this. So when we did our time phasing and you did your WBS and your work packages, we knew how much there was per week in the total cost, and now we've spread that out, okay, on the project. And we hopefully did that for each task. A lot of companies, you'll have a detailed sheet like this or whatever to figure out those costs and estimators. So, but now we're going to put it in, and let's say this project, and then we'll go back to our EMR project just so you see some variation. Here might have been a project that was coming through on its way, took 14 time period, I guess this is weeks of 14 weeks in this time period, and balance that out. We can see the critical path through the zeros down here and so forth. So we had all that, we put that in, we entered it, and we put in the time phasing. So first week, second week, and which tasks get done, the dollars for each of those tasks. All these are nicely rounded off to thousands. And we can see when we're done, it's a $52,000 project. The budget this way for all the tasks adds up to 52. The budget this way by weeks adds up to 52. It's the same thing. We're just spreading it out over the weeks. So first, each of the teams came in and told you it would take that much for the task. We have now spread that out, though, given our linkages and our resources, and said, okay, it's going to take 14 weeks, $52,000. Those two numbers should agree. It's just how did we spread them out, and you can see how our costs grew along the project. Okay, that's nice, gives you a nice graph, tells you where you are. This now gives us a baseline to measure to. Let's go back to our EMR project, though. Remember, it was initially 45 days, but the resources were limited to 8 heads. We had to move that. It became a 57-day schedule and move that out on that, but we got it to our 8 heads across the board. So now we can get these types of views. We can get a cost overview. The total cost, $302,000. Remember, I put it in at $100 an hour. Okay, so total cost, remaining cost. We haven't started it yet, so we have a remaining cost equal to the total cost. Once we get into Chapter 13 and we start actually saying how much is done, you'll see the remaining costs change and the percent complete has changed. We're 0%, we haven't started it. So here's a total budget and so forth. And then the other view we could get is the actual cash flow. And so it gives us all these. Here's the cash flow by week. That references the left-hand side of the graph. Cash flow total, right-hand side over here, 302,000 still. Same thing, getting us through, but now it spreads it out over the weeks. So let's go back to project and look at how we got that. So here was this in project, and we're coming up to our reports, And let's take dashboard up here under reports, cost overview. So that got us that project, that view there, and you can get that. Or we can go back to reports and we can go to costs, cash flow. We can see our cash flow. So that's how I got those views on project. But once we had it in project, you can see how we can get those views. Now that gives us the cash flow and the expenditures with time. And you'll see when we get to chapter 13 how we can measure that. We're going to talk a few other topics before we get there, but this is setting the baseline for the project. So given everything we've done, we now have what's called that project baseline. And so we'll use this later on.